Welcome back. It is Beltway Football on Monumental Sports Network. Again, they haven't thrown us out of the studio yet. It is time for us to speak to somebody that dedicates his life to the NFL draft. Of course, it's our friend Thor Nystrom, draft analyst from Fantasy Life. Thor, thanks for making time, brother. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great.
So we last saw you in Indy at the Combine. There's a lot of draft analysts out there that don't actually do anything, and they just like post clips on Twitter. You grind. Before we get into the specifics, how much time have you put into this draft from, say, January to now?
Quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much of a social life this time of the year, and of course in the fall I cover college football, but yeah, we get really deep after the national championship and diving into these evals.
Well, you can tell I follow you on social. I read your work on Fantasy Life. You do a heck of a job.
We both do. Thank you very much.
Well, tell them. I don't know.
Yeah. Thor, I follow you as well, bud.
Appreciate it.
Let's get down to business. Number one's going to be Cam Ward, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any major surprises top 10 before we get to Washington? Like Shador, perhaps? I don't know.
Well, if Shador starts falling, one thing I've been hearing since the Combine is watch out for the Browns to move up and stop his fall. Now he'd have to fall out of Shador would have to fall out of the top 10 to open up that possibility. But if he gets into the mid-teens, Cleveland has a war chest of draft equity, day 2 and then in day 3 as well. They have they have more picks than they have roster spots to house the rookies. They will be moving around the board and looking to move up. So that would be one possibility there.
If Shador is available at 29, Adam Peters will hold up a for sale sign. I promise you that much.
I don't think he's going to get there.
Wanting to do that. Somebody's going to want to go and do that. Lamar Jackson,
right.
Make sure you get the 5th-year option for that kid.
All right. I saw you just published your 2-round mock draft on Fantasy Life. Mitch, I believe he's got your guy.
He has my guy.
All right, go ahead. You've got Mitch's guy. He's fired up.
Listen, at 29, I want the Commanders to go edge. I think a guy like Shamar Stewart makes a ton of sense. What I loved most was reading one breakdown of him, and he said that he plays responsibly and he's concerned about being a part of the defense and not chasing stats. And maybe that points to the fact that he only had 4.5 sacks in his college career.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. And Nick Scorton, the other edge there this past season at Texas A&M, he had talked at his podium session in Indianapolis about how the scheme didn't always allow the edge defenders to pin their ears back and get after it. In pass pro, there's some containment responsibilities, especially when they were playing the quicker dual threat quarterbacks have to pen him into the pocket. This is something similar to the Georgia scheme. Some of those down linemen at Georgia, we've talked about that the past few years about how in that scheme there are responsibilities of containment. So that's definitely true. But the thing that Shamar for sure has going either way is he is one of the elite run defenders, the edge position in this class. And of course, he has the amazing measurables as well. But the pass rush, to that point, there are containment responsibilities there.
All right. So my guy, I don't think this is going to happen. I certainly understand that I don't think this is going to happen. I think they're going to trade out at 29 altogether. But my guy is Mykel Williams, however you say that dude's name, Williams from Georgia. I think he's a top 10 talent that was hurt, played hurt. If he starts to slide, how far can he slide? Can he get to 29?
I don't know if he could get to quite 29, but there are scenarios where he gets into the early 20s for sure. So that, potentially open up a possibility of a trade up. But I agree with you. I think Mykel Williams would be going slots higher had he not, than he'll end up going had he not gotten hurt. It was a guy, obviously Georgia, they have the stacked defensive front and into their 2 deep, even 3 deep. And they do the rotational thing. Even the first round studs that we've had from the past, it's always the rotational thing with Georgia. And that's what Mykel Williams was before. He steps into a full-time role more or less this year, but then he gets hurt right away. And then Kirby Smart mentioned this about Mykel Williams, that he respected so much that Mykel Williams could have shut the season down after that injury, and then a lot of top half of the first round, top 20 type prospects would have. But Mykel Williams went the opposite way and rushed back. It was a 3 to 6 week recovery time frame that they gave him initially. He only missed 2 games. So he rushed back before even the front end of it. And the next 3-4 games, he had to play limited snaps. I mean, he was, should he have been playing? I'm not sure, but he wanted to play. And then his first game of full snaps when he was fully healthy, it was against the Texas Longhorns. And that was the game where Georgia's defensive front, you guys recall, were caving in that offensive line. Quinn Ewers wanted no part of it. He's going to see that game in his nightmares for the next 40 years. Michael Williams had 2 sacks in that game. He had he had a third one that was taken off the board with the face mask. If he had an entire season of analogous type performances like that, obviously he would be going higher than he's going to end up going.
That's my guy. I don't think
That is
he
your
gets
guy.
there.
You love him.
But a couple
Real
other
quick.
edge guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, another edge guy. That's what I was going to. James Pierce, the kid from Tennessee, feels like a name that will be right there around 29.
And Ezraku, the Boston College.
But Pierce had, I think,
edge.
he had double-digit sacks last year and 50-plus pressures this year. How do you balance guys who have that much production versus some of these guys who don't show as much?
Yeah, and Pierce, the amazing north-south athlete as well. He ran that amazing 40 wearing a hoodie. It was the performance hoodie. Yeah, so like that was pretty cool. But yeah, he's the instant heat off the edge type guy. He's a bit of a one-trick pony, but his trick is really neat. He reminds me so much of Brian Burns. Going back 4 or 5 classes, it's a very similar thing, very similar frame, very similar type speed rushing off the edge there. He doesn't give you the run defense, James Pierce doesn't, and that's sort of the one nitpick. And I know Washington, they want the two-way edge type of a guy, right? I mean, that's what they're hunting for. So that might, you might not be as attracted to that. Ezraku, his game grew on me the more that I watched him. When I went in, I was kind of ready to nitpick him, and he just kept opening my eyes. It's an unorthodox game for sure, and he's a bit sawed off. It's a 6'2.5", 248, but he has super duper long arms. That's the one sort of physical quirk of his that very much plays in his favor. And he has a deep reservoir of pass rushing moves. So he keeps the distance, and then he can sort of start playing off of that, right? It's like a jukebox. Shut one down, he's going to the next one, shuffling it to the next one, shuffling it to the next one. And he always has space to maneuver because of those long arms, speed to power conversion as well. So it's a guy, he's going to throw 3, 4, 5 different moves at you, depending on how many you can shut down, depending on when the whistle blows. He'll eventually get past you and shed. It's a guy that I think would play best as a 3-4 outside linebacker at the next level, but I definitely like Ezraku's game.
This could be quick. There's such little true base defense anymore. Like, if you're an edge rusher, the way these modern NFL defenses are with so many sub packages, like how much does a 4-3 DN versus a 3-4 OLB really matter as the schemes become less dependent on base?
Depends on the teams that you talk to, but more and more, to your point, are getting away from that, and they're going closer to, it's like basketball. We had the positionless revolution. We're getting there with football as well, right? I mean, offensively, Kyle Shanahan is leading that charge, and then on defense, of course, we see these chess piece type guys, and it used to be the safeties, but now we see the front 7 chess piece types, and the edge guys, Jalen Walker from this class, etc. But yeah, we're definitely moving in that direction. It's just the evolution of the sport.
I got one more at edge.
Go ahead.
I really think if Adam Peters ever told the truth, it would be he wants to move back from 29. Who are some of like that next tier of edge rushers? I like Josiah Stewart from Michigan. I think Sawyer from Ohio State's an interesting player. Landon Jackson, Arkansas. Like kind of that second, third, maybe a Friday night edge guy you like.
And how big of a drop-off is that from that first group?
Great.
Yeah, well, for what Washington is looking for, I think you could do that. And I don't know if they would view it as a huge drop off, right? Because, for instance, I would have to imagine that Nick Scorton and Landon Jackson and perhaps even Jack Sawyer might be above Pierce on Washington's board, right? They're prioritizing the 3 down guy, the guy who gives real value setting the edge and being a run defender. And not so much juicing it towards the pass rush like some other organizations might do. Well, those guys, Scorton and Jackson, they're for sure going in round 2, right? Like, and you might even be able to get closer to the midpoint of round 2 and have availability to one of those guys. Jack Sawyer, another good example. They're a hard worker, the crazy motor on Jack Sawyer. The measurables aren't quite as good, but he's a two-way guy.
They love that stuff.
Yeah, they love those team captains. That's kind of where I was going to go with this next
His
one.
athletic testing just doesn't necessarily fit their profile because they like the team captain with the crazy spark score too.
With the quick and the quick shuttle as well. Saw second round you have Cam Scadaboo coming to Washington. He was a ton of fun to watch at the end of the year last year at Arizona State. When you start kind of looking at 61 for Washington, running back position in need, probably cornerback, another one, maybe a speedy receiver. Why Cam Scadaboo?
Yeah, just looking to get that running back in there, and it's a tough thing for Washington where you're sitting right now because if I'm them, I don't want to reach for one late first round, but then at the end of the second, you're probably going to be just outside that consensus top five running backs one. So maybe I pushed it a little bit, but I do think Cam is either going to go late second or early third. He certainly is a prime contender for that RB6 designation. But if you're Washington there, whether it is you're talking about the trade down out of one, that could put you in a position to get one of those top five running backs there at the top of round two, or you could try to maneuver up from your late second round one, just sort of monitor the situation. This running back class is so deep that, I mean, through round seven, that you wonder if it will artificially a little bit suppress some of the price points of maybe the non-Genty running backs, or maybe you toss Omari and Hampton into that too. But will these other guys that start to go on day two, will the price points just be depressed just a little bit? Because when you're doing the three-dimensional chess thing, the team might be like, we need this other position, and we can project that we can get a better running back than this other position that we could take right now. So it's like you're looking at this bucket against this bucket. That's how we could have some suppression of that. But you could monitor the situation if you're watching it at the end of round two and potentially make a move up.
Dude, I even like that Virginia Tech kid, Tootin.
Yeah.
He might make it to Saturday.
What about Devin Neal also? The
Yeah.
running back from Kansas.
Big fan of both of those guys. Devin Neal, I might be higher on than most. Devin Neal, 220 plus pounder and incredible feet. That's the dichotomy with him where it's kind of special. And I also think people miss it with Devin Neal because they just look at his receiving production. They get into the analytics of it, and there was a lot of dump offs and a lot of screens and stuff. Kansas, their system, because they had three senior starting wide receivers, long-term starters there, and the same at tight end, a long-term starting senior tight end there. Their passing concept, it went down the field. They would leverage Devin Neal on the early downs, but then on the passing downs, they were going to those big veteran boundary receivers. At the next level, I think Devin Neal is going to give you a lot more receiving utility than you saw at the college level. Beyond the line of scrimmage, the routes that he didn't get to run a whole lot, again, just because of the constitution of that offense, he can create separation, right? Like we saw that down at the Senior Bowl in the one-on-ones when he was taking on the linebackers and the strong safeties out in space. He was breaking ankles, right? And this is a 220-pound kid again. So I think that's a guy who might even have a better NFL career than he had a collegiate career. And then as far as Bayshell Tootin, or as I call him, King Tootin, coming out of the NFL Combine, he reminds me so much of Isaiah Pacheco because it's the same thing of the breakneck speed, but also the breakneck sort of style, right? Where like it's this kinetic sort of style where the defense has a hard time even getting a beat on where you're going, right? Like it's unorthodox pass sometimes, and sometimes you're gonna pull your hair out and be like, "What were you seeing there, man? You ran into the back of an offensive lineman." Other times he's gonna run into a dinger, right? So it's a Dave Kingman type profile there, where you're getting the dingers, but you're gonna get strikeouts too. And to that point, 5 fumbles last year, he has to clean that up. For teams out there, is that an endemic hands issue, or is it a ball security issue that can be worked on? The idea that it's hands and maybe it's something that lingers forward. Virginia Tech was using him less as a receiver last year. When he gets that ball in his hands as a receiver, it's the same thing. You have a shot at a home run every single time, but he did flub some freebies, right? So it's the ball skills, the hands thing, the ball security thing. Can we work on that? But if you do, again, you have a high octane athlete capable of hitting a dinger anytime he touches the ball.
All right, because you're a human encyclopedia, Thor, I think we try something for some brevity here. Give me a receiver, give me a mid-round, somebody that could be there at 29, a mid-round target and a late-round target.
At receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah, at receiver, a couple of my favorite sleepers. I really like, I'm going electric, and Isaac Tesla from Arkansas. It's a slept-on kid. He came from a subdivision, and then he transfers up to Arkansas at the end of his career. Happened to get with this team that had like a hockey line of depth at the wide receiver position. He has multiple other Arkansas receivers in this class. Andrew Armstrong, Tyrone Broden, both huge guys that are really good athletes, and they had more than that. But that system they had at Arkansas, they had this really big athletic dual threat quarterback, Taylon Green, who struggles to throw. So you had the hockey line of guys coming in and out, and then you had a quarterback that wasn't great getting the ball down the field. Tesla can win down the field. So I think in a better situation, he would have acquitted himself a lot better. There would be a lot more talk about him. Tesla, you're looking, the physical package on him is extremely impressive. 6'4", 214 pounds. 9.93 RAS, and that's a guy that can go up and get it. He runs a 4.43. He had the 39.5-inch vertical. It's a great athlete with ball skills down the field. Again, he can get up off the carpet. We saw that in Mobile, getting off the carpet, going up and skying for the ball, grabbing it at its highest point. I see a lot of Alec Pierce in him at minimum. Like, I think he'll be sort of an Alec Pierce. He also tested great with the agility stuff. And so I wonder if you have more utility in the intermediate zone, maybe than we got to see at Arkansas, just because of the circumstances. But I think Tesla is a sleeper. And then another one, and maybe a little bit deeper, although maybe in the same range, but both these guys are going to go on day 3. We'll shop local this time with Jalen Lane. That guy is a little jitterbug, and boy, is he juiced up with athleticism. To be 5'9", 191, and to get a RAS of 95th percentile, close to 96th percentile, is really, really good. I mean, you have to be flying in those tests because they ding you for the size. 4.34 speed on that kid, and he had the amazing shuttles, and the agility test there. So that's a guy, if you're shopping for more of a slot receiver, but like a little jitterbug guy and a guy that can help you out as a returner on special teams, maybe you shop local with Jalen Lane.
Punt returns?
Punt returns, interesting.
I think you could try him there for sure. Yep.
All right.
One quick one. JP alluded to it a little bit earlier, but one of the things that the Commanders brass have been looking at, or at least in the year that we've had them with the draft, is guys who are highly athletic, but also leaders and great men. Is there a guy who kind of fits that role who you think would make sense in Washington?
What position are we talking?
In general, I guess I was just thinking kind of a late round dart
Mitch
throw.
wants a great man.
I want a great man. I want a good man, a guy who's going to help be a locker room leader. More like a dart throw late in the draft, a guy who might be kind of overlooked because of maybe age or some other outside factor.
Do you guys need a off-ball linebacker depth?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
Late in the draft, sure.
Okay, well, I'll shout out Cody Lindenberg then, the linebacker from Minnesota. He gets raved about by the coaches. PJ Fleck, if you ask PJ Fleck about Cody Lindenberg, he'll start drooling. And then the interview process during this pre-draft process, he is getting rave reviews there as well. A team leader. It's a guy who 2 of his last 3 seasons he got nicked up. And because of that, I think that's why he's not getting as much attention. But one of the very true middle off-ball linebackers in this class, who for multiple years at the highest level of college football had the green dot. There's just not a ton of them in this class, right? Like a little bit of a throwback, but he is a good athlete too in a big frame. So I think he's better than people give him credit for because he got nicked up those 2 seasons. Team captain, coaches love him, teammates love him. The NFL appears to like him as well.
Thor, you're the man, brother. Thank you for the time. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
Terps, how do we get a Terps helmet back there?
Oh, we got the Terps. Let's see, the Terps Big Ten over here. Right. Oh, it's down there on the bottom.
All right.
Come on.
Next time you got to move it
I'll
up.
move it up
Get
next
that into
time.
the screen.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.